Hello and welcome to the Fiber Circus. This is episode number 12 and it's January the 3rd of 2019. Hard to believe it's 2019 already because it feels like it was just 2018 a few days ago. I'm recording a day late because I am really off on what day it is. The holidays being on Mondays and Tuesdays really kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm your host Elizabeth and I'm coming to you from southern Indiana where I have a fiber farm with alpacas, llamas, a sheep and a goat. And I run a hand dyeing business, and this is a podcast about knitting, spinning, dyeing, machine knitting, and the occasional travel and animal hijinks thrown in. So sit back and relax, and I hope that you enjoyed the show. For all information today, please see the show notes, which are located just down below. If you hit the arrow button, you can see the show notes. And if you need to contact me, I am Spottedcircus on Ravelry, Facebook, and Instagram. So, thanks a lot for coming along this week. So, works in progress. I've been working pretty monogamously these last 2 weeks, mainly because I'm trying to get stuff done and maybe start the new year with something new. It didn't quite hold me back from casting on something new anyways, but I've been trying. So the first work in progress I have is my Evenflow cardigan by Locatelli. And when we last met up, I was right down here where the stitch marker is, and this is on the collar. So I think I was just starting to knit on the pockets. So I have pockets now. You can see them on the inside. There's a pocket. I'm going to have to tack down the edges of it later on. But I finished the right pocket. I finished the left pocket. I knit the rest of the collar. And I did darn 1x1 ribbing for the collar. I think I already had the welts put in on the collar last week. But those were kind of cool, the way that those welts were formed. So the collar's done, and now I'm starting on a sleeve. So here's where I am with a sleeve so far. The sleeve I had to pick up and knit a whole ton of stitches, and then I did short row shaping to form the sleeve cap, and now I'm working on my decreases, which is what all these little bitty bulb stitch markers are. My one problem that I had with picking up is that I was picking up, sometimes going up the fabric and sometimes across the fabric. And what I've gotten is there's areas where I didn't pick it up tight enough. And so you can see through. And I was also trying to alternate skeins because the skeins are highly variegated. And for the body of the sweater, I did variegate every single row. And I tried doing it on the sleeves. But what was happening was I was getting these funky holes whenever I decided to switch yarns. So I stopped doing that. And I'm just knitting with one skein now. It's not pooling too bad so far, I don't think. I tried, right about in here was when I was last alternating skeins, so all of this is the single skein. So far it's not bothering me and it's not pooling dramatically. We're going to see how it goes. I'm not 100% sure what was happening there with where I was alternating skeins, but it just wasn't picking up quite right. Yesterday on the Knit Girls, they'd read where when you go to pick up for a sleeve, to pick up with a needle that's 2 sizes smaller to make that tighter. They also had the idea that maybe you could go through and actually tighten this up. Because you can see, like right there's a huge gap. And that's where I started picking up, right there at the armpit. So I'm either going to have to go back through and attempt to tighten up these stitches when I get done, or I'm going to have to go through maybe with an extra piece of yarn and try to sew up the seam a little bit tighter, because I'm not real thrilled with it right now. But I'm also not going to rip it back because I got too much effort into this, and you know, this was one season of Ray Donovan, the TV show that we've been watching right now on DVD. So I'm not going to rip it back. The sleeves, I think, have to get to 14 or 15 inches. So I've got quite a ways to go. The sweater itself is fitting really well, which I like. Right now I'm having this issue where the bottom ribbing is curling up. And it didn't tell you to go down a needle size when I did that. And if it did, I obviously missed that. But it's kind of curling up wonky. But I'm hoping it's going to block out. So the yarn is Madelintosh Pashmina, which is a merino cashmere silk sport weight. and it is in the colorway Spectrum. So I'm continuing to work on this. I'm trying to get it done, but now I'm on Sleeve Island, and it's currently living in my Bags by Awesome Granny Firefly Kids bag, and it is being knit on what looks like size 6 carbons. Unfortunately, the print on these is worn off, so obviously I've used these size 6s quite a bit. And that's an interchangeable set that I'm using. So that was the main thing that I've actually been working on recently as far as knitting goes. But I did cast on a new project, and I've been wanting to cast on something, and I keep going back and forth between sweaters and this and that, and then I think, well, maybe I need to cast on something for a shop sample, because, you know, it's always good to have something to show people what your yarn looks like knit up. So I decided, you know, 2019, I'm going to learn how to brioche knit. And, you know, don't start with something simple and easy like a simple brioche hat. Why don't you start with a Stephen West pattern? So, what I am going to be knitting, or what I've cast on, is Suriously Holey by Stephen West, the awesome guy there in sunglasses. And you can see it's brioche knit, and then it has a bunch of holes in it that develop. Which, if I show you the last picture on the page, you can kind of see how there's, well, you can't really see, but there's Stephen looking very interesting. He's quite the interesting gentleman. So I've cast on the Suriously Holey, and I'm using a size 5 knitting needle, and I'm using 2 of my hand-dyed yarns. So the first yarn is this reverse speckle, and it's in my Alpaca Bamboo Merino Nylon, and it's called Disco Lights. And I took the last 2 skeins that I had in inventory. However, I do have it on BFL Sparkle fingering weight and on Polworth DK, if I remember right. And it's got just flecks of neon at random on a black base. And then for the second yarn, I'm using this yarn, and it's an alpaca silk brushed yarn. It's a fingering weight still, and you can see it's got a fuzzy halo. It's designed to be a lot like the mohair yarns, and this was in a colorway called, I think I called it Rainbow Sprinkles, and it's just random spots of neon. So I cast it on, and I cast it on twice, because after doing the first section and picking up some stitches, I then realized I didn't have the right stitch count at all. So I've cast it on twice. But for this being my first brioche project, the instructions were actually pretty easy to follow. I think it helps that when you're knitting brioche rib to have 2 different colors, so that way you can easily distinguish between the 2. So here's where I'm at so far. This is, I guess it's called the right side. You can see I have these awesome face mask holes right there. And then I've just done my 3rd set of holes up in here. And then the back looks like this. So this side has the brushed alpaca featuring more prominently than what this side does. So it's actually not that bad once you get going on it. It's just, and it gets very rhythmic, and it gets very rhythmic. The problem was that I got into such a rhythm that I forgot to increase when I was working back in here. And so it got to where I was getting ready to do this second set, and my numbers were way, way off. So I've learned since then, you know, I've got to pay attention. I'm repeating 2 rows back and forth, and the 2 rows include knit with the black across, then knit with the white across, and that's a row. So every row has 2 parts. So I'm repeating 2 rows back and forth right now. The problem is I have to remember on one row, I do set increases. On the second row, I don't do the increases. The problem is I seem to have a hard time remembering that, and I'm not good enough to rip back brioche yet. So, but yeah, you can see it's really nice fuzzy halo to it. It's really squishy because it's essentially a double layer of fabric. And you can see on this side how the Pacaboo Disco Lights pops out. So I think it's going to be really pretty. I am, how far am I through this? So the finished size, it's going to use approximately 650 yards of each of the yarns. And I'm only on to part. So I'm on the third set of holes, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like there's 8 or 9 more sets of holes to go. And every time you do those holes, you're increasing by like 9 stitches per hole. So it's going to take a little bit. But given the fact I've just kind of been working on it here and there, and I think I cast it on, would have been like maybe the 27th or 28th of December. I'm doing pretty good, I think. I mean, this is a decent sized thing so far. It's very stretchy. I'm not 100% sure if I'm supposed to necessarily block it so that way the ribs show, or if I should be, you know, just kind of letting it be. I do really like the way that this makes a face, though, with the holes down here. You can see the face a little bit easier on this side. See, there's creepy eyes. It's kind of like a panda face mask right now. So, for a Steve and West pattern, which are usually pretty intricate and detailed, it's actually going pretty well. I think this is my first Steve and West pattern that I'm actually knitting. So, it's cruising along, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. Let's see. Finished objects. The only finished object I had was a machine knit hat that I did for my little niece Ellie. And I'll put a picture of it up here. And the hat was just made out of some simple acrylic, and it's got cats with a mouse on it. It was really simple. I made it the night before I left for Christmas holidays because I thought that she needed a hat. And I followed the child size directions, and it was quite large. So, you know, she's got plenty of time to grow into it, luckily. Spinning, I haven't done any spinning because I've been distracted with knitting on these 2 items right now. Machine knitting, so I did the hat for my cousin, or for my niece Ellie, and then I also gifted the mermaid blanket to my cousin's daughter, and I gave her an eye patch with it since she wanted to be a pirate mermaid. And at first she was kind of like, huh, what's this? But then evidently when she got home, it was mermaid tail on at all times, and she even created herself a little throne to sit in while wearing her mermaid tail. So I'll put a picture of that up in here. And so that was really nice to see. It's always nice. You never know when you're making a random gift for somebody if they're going to appreciate it or not. And she really likes it, so very happy that way. Other machine knitting things, I'm working right now on still getting all my machines at 100% and functioning, and making sure and testing them all out to make sure that they're going to work for my classes next month. And for Christmas, I managed to get 4 more machines. So I got another bulky, 2 electric standard machines, and a standard punch card. So that all came from an estate back near where my parents lived, where the woman was just getting of an age where she couldn't really knit anymore. So I'm going to use those machines in my classes, and then possibly a few of them will be for sale as well. So that's all for machine knitting. Acquisitions, I've been good and haven't bought anything. Part of that is because I'm poor right now, so I haven't bought anything. And on to events. So I've got a bunch of stuff coming up right now. People are finally starting to figure out that it's 2019 and they need to start getting on my schedule if they want to do something. So the 24th through 26th of this month, I'm going to be out in Denver, Colorado at the National Western Stock Show in the YAK pens. And I'll be the head judge for the YAK fiber competition, and then also for the fiber arts competition. So I'm going to be filming some footage while I'm out there, and yaks, you judge the fiber on the yak. So you physically go up to them and comb some fiber off of the yak. And it's outside in Denver in January. So it's either going to be warm and pleasant, or it's going to be muddy, or it's going to be freezing cold. So it's always an adventure whenever I go out to the yak show. So it'll be a lot of fun though. Then February 9th and 10th, I'm teaching a beginning machine knitting class up at Heritage Farm Suri in Flora, Indiana. And that'll be the first machine knitting class. And it's already open for registration right now. And it's limited to 10 spots because I only have so many machines. And you kind of want to do along with the teacher as you're doing the knitting. So that one is open for registration. So February 23rd and 24th, I'll be at Rolling Oak Alpaca Ranch, which is down in Makanda, Illinois, down in southern Illinois, just north of Paducah and east of Carbondale in that area. And that will also be a beginner machine knitting class. So the signups are almost open for that, but there is a Facebook group for it. So I'll post the link down below for both of these classes. So they're both going to be a lot of fun. A really nice alpaca farm. So if you don't own alpacas, you can come learn about alpacas as well. And it's going to be full of information. I'm still working on the handouts for this class, and I'm up to, I think, 5 or 6 pages so far. And I've got to sit down and have my husband do the class, because I need to see how long it's going to take and where it is I need to maybe do some editing at and what's realistic that we're going to be able to get through. Because you don't necessarily have to have any kind of knitting experience. You just have to be able to follow directions and pay attention, which everybody should be able to do that. So it'll be a lot of fun, though. I'm also looking right now at scheduling a class in March in the Bloomington, Indiana area at the Blooming Labs location. And it'll probably just be a one-day class, and it'll be a little bit smaller there. It's kind of mainly for my fun fiber friends in the area that want to learn about the machines. So, and I'm guessing there'll probably be a few makers there that are curious about hacking the machines too. So that's coming up. And then April 19th and 20th is the fiber event in Greencastle, and I'll be vending at that. It's only about 30-40 minutes north of my house, so it's nice because I can drive up to it pretty easily. So far I only have a single booth. I'm praying I get a double booth because I always can fill a double booth easily. So I'll be up there vending though, so keep an eye out for me. And at some point in April we will be shearing here at our house, so we can always use volunteers for people that want to come along and watch how an alpaca gets shorn and help out a little bit. And I may be going in March to the National Alpaca Show out in Denver. I haven't solidified any plans about that, so I'm still working on it. So that takes me up into April right now. Currently, I've got another 2 people looking to schedule classes, and February's full. I mean, in reality, I can only drive so far so quickly and get things done. Plus, I need to do my taxes at some point, and I still haven't gotten an awesome system figured out on how to keep track better. So it's a matter of me printing out all of PayPal, all of Etsy, all of Square, all of that stuff, and matching it up and figuring out my taxes. So if anybody is an accountant and really would like to help me with my taxes, I'm more than willing to pay in yarn and or fiber. Definite bonus for you, and bonus for me if I don't have to do my tax stuff and keep track of it. So that's the majority of my events that are coming up as of right now. Shop update wise, I haven't put anything new in the shop yet. This next week, I'm probably going to try to do some destashes on my Facebook page. Probably on my personal Facebook page or maybe in some of the groups there. And I'm going to put together random boxes of fiber. Whether it's undyed, dyed, Angelina. It's just going to be a random assortment of stuff for people. Because I just need to destash a bunch of ends and odds of things that I have. Where it's not quite enough for me to make something with. Or to do several braid dye lot of. So you may get an entire 4-ounce braid of something. You know, you may get handfuls of this and that. Most of it will be labeled as far as what the actual fiber content is. There most likely will not be any Angora rabbit because I'm allergic, so you won't be seeing that in there, but it could be anything from pearl, milk, silk, different types of wools, Angelina, Firestar, dyed sheep locks. It could be a little bit of anything. So it'd be great for somebody who just wants to do some fun blending, or maybe even for Nuno felters. I did just send off my January contribution to the spinning box today, so keep an eye out on the spinning box's website. And I will be posting pre-orders for that fiber up on the website soon. And then I am getting ready to start dyeing for the February box contribution. So a lot of little things going on right now that I need to keep track of and get going. So kind of a short episode this week because I haven't been doing a ton. Well, I have been, but it hasn't really been show and tell, craft relatable type stuff. So today I was thinking about going out to see the sideshow and the critters, and it's a muddy pit out right now. We've been under a flood warning for the last 3 or 4 days, so it's kind of gross right now. So we probably won't go visit the sideshow this week. Hopefully in 2 weeks, which, let me think, the 3rd. Yeah, I'll still be in town for that one. It'll be right before the iYak show. So otherwise, I guess that's about it for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and please hit subscribe down below and hit like so that way I can get the message out to more and more people. And otherwise, it was good to see you guys, and we'll talk to you again next time. Bye.